To save up for a down payment on a house, I started driving for Uber after my day job, keeping it a secret from my fiancée. After I accepted the ride, I froze for a few seconds. In the rearview mirror, the woman I'd been with for 5 years was linking arms with another man as they got into my car. She looked up and saw me. Her whole body went rigid. She didn't say a word. The destination for this trip was a hotel downtown. An hour ago, she'd texted me, saying she was having a girls' night and staying over at Jenna's. As I pulled away from the curb, the man leaned forward, his voice dripping with a pride he couldn't hide. "Hey man, mind taking it easy? My wife gets carsick." "Thanks." I gave a numb nod, my mind a complete blank. I stared at her in the rearview mirror for a long time. She kept her head down, refusing to speak. The man nudged her. "Honey, do you two know each other?" "Well, no, we don't." I answered first. In the mirror, she visibly relaxed, but she still didn't dare look at me. I already regretted accepting this ride. The man was in his early 30s, dressed in expensive-looking business casual, a heavy watch on his wrist. His hand rested casually on her thigh. The GPS told me to turn right. I hit the blinker. The silence in the car was suffocating, thick enough to choke on. The man must have gotten bored, because he started scrolling through his phone's camera roll, occasionally leaning over to show her something. "Look, honey, I took this last week. It's the renovation progress on our house. They've already finished the hardwood in the living room." She grunted an affirmation, her voice muffled. I watched her in the mirror. She kept her head bowed, as if trying to shrink into the leather seat. 5 years together felt weightless in that moment, easily outweighed by a house I'd never seen. "When did you guys get married?" The words were out of my mouth before I realized I'd spoken. The man paused, then a smile spread across his face, a triumphant gleam in his eyes. "We just signed the papers last month. The wedding's next month. Gotta do it upright, you know," he said, his tone full of swagger. "It's mainly because I'm so busy with work. I've been working out of state, near her hometown. This is the first chance I've had to come visit, so I wanted to bring her to see the house." Out of state. My throat tightened. Her hometown was in the next state, over a 4-hour drive. For the last few months, she told me countless times she had family stuff to deal with back home. I never once doubted her. "Hey, that's a nice watch," the man said, leaning closer and pointing at my left wrist. I glanced down at the long ends. She'd given it to me for my birthday last year. I'd been afraid to wear it, worried I'd scratch it, but she insisted that a man needs a good watch, so I started wearing it every day. She'd bought it with her first big project bonus, saying that even though it wasn't the most expensive, she'd give me an even better one when she made more money. My family isn't well off. To save up our share of the down payment her parents wanted, I drove for Uber every night, trying to scrape together enough so we could finally get married. We were planning for a wedding at the end of the year. "It looks a lot like mine," he said, holding up his own left hand and giving it a little shake. "See? Simple design. My wife picked it out. Said it's a timeless classic." In the mirror, her head sank even lower. "What a coincidence," I said. "It's a matching set, you know. Since you're wearing the men's version, you must have a girlfriend, right?" "When are you two tying the knot?" he asked with a laugh. I paused, then said, "We broke up. Just forgot to take it off." The man froze, the smile stuck on his face. He looked from me to his own reflection in the mirror, probably inventing some tragic backstory for me in his head. "Oh man, I'm sorry. I didn't know, it's fine." He settled back into his seat. After a few seconds of silence, he couldn't help but add in a lower voice, "Hey, it's all good. You'll meet someone better. My brother was with a girl for years. They broke up, and now he's married to someone amazing." I just nodded. The person in the back who hadn't said a word the entire ride remained silent. The car pulled up to the curb in front of the fanciest hotel downtown. I glanced at the neon sign, glowing with 5-star prestige. After he got out, she took his arm, and they walked side by side into the lobby. She looked up at him as she spoke, and he nodded. She never once looked back. I sat in the car for a long time. I turned off the AC and cracked the windows. The night air blew in, making my eyes sting. A parking attendant walked over and tapped on my window, telling me I couldn't idle here. I told him I was leaving, started the engine, and had no idea where to go. I looked down at the watch on my wrist. Signed the papers last month. That meant while I was driving strangers around to save money, while I was pulling all-nighters on freelance design projects, while I was dreaming about our wedding at the end of the year, she had already signed a marriage license with someone else. She was already another man's wife, with a whole new house waiting for her. And I was still saving for a down payment. I pulled over to the side of the road, took out my phone, and opened our text thread. The last message was from her, sent at 6:23 p.m., dinner with Jenna and the girls tonight. If it gets too late, I'll just crash at her place. You get some sleep. I typed a few words, deleted them. Typed again, deleted again. Finally, I just sent one sentence. We're done. Message sent. I took off the watch and set it on the center console. At the top of the chat, the little bubble popped up. Chloe is typing. I waited. The bubble kept jumping, but no message ever came through. I put the car in drive, ready to leave. Just as I shifted gears, a familiar figure appeared in my rearview mirror. She was running out of the hotel entrance, breathless, slapping the passenger side window of my car. Leo, open the door. Let me explain. Her forehead was beaded with sweat, her hair a mess in the night wind. I'd never seen her look so frantic. Open the door. She slapped it again. I hit the unlock button. She pulled the door open and slid into the passenger seat, panting, smelling of the hotel lobby's cloying perfume. How could you? We're done, Chloe. I cut her off. I just texted you. You saw it, right? She froze, her lips parted. It took her a moment to speak. It's not what you think. Then what is it? She wiped her face. It was just an accident. I stared at her, waiting for the rest of the story she was making up. It was a few months ago when I went back home. I had too much to drink, and I thought he was you. The words tumbled out of her, fast and frantic. It was just that one time, but then he got serious. He's well off, you know. House, nice car. His parents came to see mine, and they offered so much to help out. And, you know, my mom was sick back then. We really needed the money. A few months ago, she had to go back home for a visit. Said her mom wasn't feeling well. Around that time, she was always saying work was crazy, that she couldn't come home. Our phone calls were short. She'd hang up after a few minutes. You signed the papers last month. You went home to get married, and you told me you had a business trip. She fell silent. Do your parents know? She nodded. So your whole family has been lying to me. It's not like we were lying. I didn't know how to tell you. She grabbed my hand, her palms slick with sweat. Leo, I love you. Can't you feel that after 5 years? It was an accident. Once this is all over, we'll get a divorce. Just wait for me, okay? Please. I looked at her, incredulous. You want me to wait for you? Just a year. 2 at the most. As soon as we get this settled, I'll leave him. And then what? Then we get married, of course, she said, her voice desperate. We can still have the wedding we planned. We have 5 years of history. Leo, are you really going to throw that all away? I yanked my hand out of her grasp. The day you signed that marriage license, I was out driving for Uber to save for our down payment. She flinched. I was out there every single night, 3-4 hours at a time. I took on extra freelance work on the weekends just to put away an extra few $100 a month. I thought you were working late, crashing at your friend's place. But you were with your husband, looking at your new house. Leo, and now you're asking me to wait for you? Wait for you to be a wife to someone else, to decorate your new home with him, and then come back and marry me. I didn't wait for an answer. I reached across and hit the door lock. Get out. Leo, just listen to me. Listen to what? The story of when you got married? How you managed to lie to me for months. I look her dead in the eye. You know what? You just reminded me. I turned my head. Your parents knew. So from the very beginning, your whole family never saw me as one of them. Leo, my mom really likes you. She likes me? She likes me. So she lets you lie to me about getting married? She likes me. So she's fine with me being played for a fool. She had nothing to say. Get out. Leo, get out. She just sat there. I got out of the car, walked around the front, and pulled her door open. Out. She finally got out and stood by the car, staring at me. Leo, it's been 5 years. Our parents have met. Are you really just going to end it like this? For I didn't answer. I just got back in, locked the doors, and started the engine. She pounded on the window, her mouth moving, but I couldn't hear what she was saying. In the rearview mirror, she chased the car for a few steps before the darkness swallowed her whole. Back in my apartment, I stood outside the door for a long time, unable to go in. A thin line of light seeped from under the door. The living room lamp I'd forgotten to turn off. I pushed the door open. Her slippers were by the entrance, pink, part of a 2-for-1 deal. Mine were black. Hanging on the coat rack was the dress she just picked up from the dry cleaners for an important get-together tomorrow. On the coffee table was her half-finished boba, next to a magazine she'd been flipping through. Draped over the sofa was her pink fleece blanket, the one she always said was perfect for watching movies. On the nightstand in the bedroom were her skincare bottles, her hair clips, the romance novel she was halfway through. Traces of her were everywhere. I sat on the couch, staring at the floor lamp. She had picked out the lampshade, saying the warm yellow light made the place feel cozy. My phone buzzed. A text from her, "He leaves tomorrow. After he's gone, I'll come find you. We can talk this out properly." I stared at the message for a long time. Then I tapped her contact photo and hit block. The conversation history vanished. 5 years of good morning and good night. 5 years of I miss you and I love you. 5 years of pointless, everyday little things. Gone. I started packing. Her clothes, her books, her skincare, her hair clips, her toothbrush, her towels. I shoved it all into 2 large suitcases. I worked until 3 in the morning. Half the apartment was empty. The floor lamp was still on. I stared at the floral pattern on the shade, remembering the day we went to IKEA. She'd said that when we finally bought a house, she wanted to fill the living room with lamps so we could set different moods at night. I said, "Okay, I like warm light." I stood up and switched off the lamp. The room plunged into darkness, lit only by the faint glow of the streetlight outside. The next afternoon, I was woken up by a knock on the door. I had no idea what time I'd fallen asleep. My phone had died. The knocking came again, more insistent this time. I looked through the peephole. It was her. I was about to ignore it and walk away when the knocking started again. "Leo, I know you're in there. Open the door. If you don't, I'm just going to keep knocking." I stood behind the door, not moving. "Mom, you talk to him." A familiar voice came from outside. I froze. I opened the door crack. She was standing there, and next to her was her mother. Her father stood a little ways behind them. I'd met her mom many times. When I visited for holidays, she was always polite. She'd given me money in a red envelope for Christmas once, told me we should get married and have kids soon, while they were still young enough to help out. "Leo, honey, open up. Let your Annie have a chat with you." I opened the door all the way. Her mom walked in, glanced around the living room, and when her eyes landed on the packed suitcases by the couch, her lips tightened into a thin line. "What's all this? You don't have to make such a big scene." Her dad stayed in the doorway, his face unreadable. Her mom sat on the couch and patted the cushion next to her. "Come on, Leo. Sit down. Let's talk." I didn't move. "What are you standing for?" "Come, sit. Just say what you have to say." Her mom looked taken aback. The smile faded from her face. She shot a look at Chloe, then back at me. "Leo, look. What happened? Our family was in the wrong. We should have told you. But you have to understand, how could we bring something like that up? The guy's well off, house, car, he just showed up. We had to consider it, right?" I just listened. Besides, her mom paused. "You can't put all the blame on Chloe. Think about it. You two have been together for so long, and we never asked for much, but your financial situation, the reason she drank so much that night was because she was stressed that you couldn't come up with a down payment, wasn't it? Am I wrong?" 5. I stared at Chloe. "So this is my fault." "I'm not saying it's your fault, honey. I'm just saying everyone shares a little of the blame here. Don't be so stubborn. Life is full of bumps in the road." I glanced at Chloe. She was standing next to her mother, head bowed, not saying a word. That other man was an accident, a last resort. Once their business is settled, they'll get a divorce. Then you two can get married, have a nice wedding. You just have to wait a year. Your bond is so strong, what's one more year? Wait 1 year. Yes, it'll fly by, her mom said, patting my arm. Look, you've already waited 5 years. What's one more? I took a step back. Let me ask you, do you truly love my daughter? I didn't answer. If you love her, that's all that matters. Why overthink it? She made a mistake, but her heart is with you. You know how she's treated you these past 5 years. Girls, they mess up sometimes. As long as they're willing to change, it's fine. If it was your son in this situation, would you feel the same way? The smile vanished from her mother's face. What's that supposed to mean? If your son's fiancé did this, would you tell him to wait a year? Her mother's face hardened. She stood up. What kind of way is that to talk? I'm speaking plain English. I looked at all of them. You people are unbelievable. She gets married behind my back, and you help her hide it. Now that she's someone else's wife, you're telling me to wait a year, wait for them to get divorced, and then I can marry her. Leo, Chloe started. What am I waiting for? To marry her after she's divorced? To wait for her ex-husband to show up and cause drama whenever he feels like it? Her mom opened her mouth, but no words came out. While I was saving for a down payment, what was your family doing? Helping her lie to me. While I was driving for Uber, she was with another man. While I was thinking about who to invite to our wedding, she was already married. And now you come here and tell me to wait a year, and you have the nerve to complain about my finances? I laughed, a bitter, empty sound. My family may not have much money, but we've never scammed anyone. Her mother's face went from pale to red. Chloe was silent the entire time. You should all go, I said. And don't come back. Leo, Chloe finally spoke. Get out. Her dad, still by the door, snorted. All right, let's go. He's clearly not grateful for the offer. Her mom gave me one last look, as if she wanted to say something else, but she swallowed it and turned to leave. Chloe followed her. Before she walked out, she glanced back at me, her lips moving, but no sound came out. The door closed. I stood alone in the living room. My phone rang. It was my mom. I picked it up, trying to keep my voice steady. Mom. Leo, honey, how are you? Are things okay with you and Chloe? I was quiet for a few seconds. Mom, we broke up. There was silence on the other end, then my mom's voice, soft and careful. What happened? She's with someone else. They got married last month. My mom didn't speak. After a moment, I heard her take a sharp breath over the phone. I'm coming tomorrow. Mom, you don't have to. I'm coming tomorrow, she repeated. You wait for me. The line went dead. I stood by the window and looked down. Chloe and her parents were walking toward the gate of the apartment complex. Her mom was in the lead, walking fast. Chloe trailed behind, glancing back up at my building every few steps. I closed the blinds. The next afternoon, my mom arrived. She was carrying a big cooler bag filled with my favorite pot roast and some of my dad's famous barbecue. The first thing she did was look around the room. Her eyes landed on the suitcases, but she didn't say anything. She just put the bag on the table and started organizing. Mom, I can do that. You sit. She took Chloe's clothes out of the suitcases, folded them neatly, and put them into garbage bags. She stacked the books on the floor. She'd bundled the skincare bottles together with a rubber band. Do you have her address? I can mail it to her. No, I was just going to throw it out. She stopped what she was doing and looked at me. Don't you dare throw it out. You give back what's hers. She placed the bundle of bottles into a bag. So, how much of your money did she spend over the years? I thought about it, then shook my head. She sighed and went back to packing. She fit all of Chloe's belongings into 3 large bags and stacked them by the door. There, we'll get a courier to pick it up later. She washed her hands and started unpacking the pot roast. Time to eat. I sat down. She put a big piece of beef on my plate. Have you cried yet? I shook my head. It might do you some good. I can't. She looked at me, her expression softening. She reached out and gently ruffled my hair. Then you cry when you're ready to cry. For now, you eat. I lowered my head and started eating. She sat across from me, eating slowly, glancing at me every so often. Did her family come see you? 6, yeah. Yesterday. What did they say? I told her everything. When I finished, her fork stopped halfway to her mouth. They told you to wait a year? Yeah. She was quiet for a long time. Then she put her fork down. Well, they're not picky, are they? I didn't understand. To have the nerve to say something like that out loud. The gall on those people. She took a sip of water. What did you say? I told them to get out. She nodded and went back to her meal. After dinner, she did the dishes. I sat on the couch, listening to the sound of running water from the kitchen. It suddenly reminded me of being a kid. Whenever I came home upset about something, she would do the same thing. Feed me first, then ask what was wrong. The water stopped. She came out, drying her hands on a towel, and sat down next to me. So what's the plan now? I don't know. Thinking about changing jobs? No, work's good. Then you keep at it, she said. I just want to be alone for a while. She looked at me, but didn't say anything. She stayed the night. Lying in bed, I could hear her soft snoring from the other room, and I suddenly felt a lump in my throat. But the tears still wouldn't come. She left the next day. Before she went, she filled my fridge and told me to eat properly and call if I needed anything. Don't try to carry this all by yourself, she said, standing at the door. Your father and I might not be anything special, but you can always come home to a hot meal. I nodded. After she left, the apartment was silent again. I stood in the middle of the living room, staring at that floor lamp. I had blocked all her numbers. Her things were gone. My mom was gone. It felt like everything was moving forward, but at the same time, like nothing had changed at all. My phone buzzed. A strange number. Leo, it's me. I got a new number. Please don't block me. Just let me say a few things, okay? I hung up, blocked the number. Another strange number called immediately. Just a few words. I'll leave you alone after I say them. I hung up. A text came in. He's gone. He went back home. Can we please just talk? I deleted it. Over the next few days, she tried calling from 7 or 8 different numbers. I hung up on everyone. Then it stopped. I thought she'd finally given up. On Friday, I came home from work to find her sitting on the steps of my apartment building. She saw me and stood up, forcing a small smile. Lao. I walked around her and headed for the door. Leo, just listen to me for a minute. I kept walking. She followed, blocking my path. Just a minute. I looked at her. In just a few days, she'd lost weight. She had dark circles under her eyes and wasn't wearing any makeup. Fine. Talk. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. It took her a moment to get the words out. I told him. I said we're getting a divorce soon. What's that got to do with me? Everything, she said urgently. I'm serious, Leo. As soon as it's final, we can get married. You know how I feel about you. I really do love you. That was just one stupid mistake. One mistake. She froze. How many times did you go back home? You were with him every time, weren't you? When did this start? Last year? The year before? No, it was just that once. You got married last month. How long were you two together before that? 6 months? A year? She didn't answer. That accident was a few months ago, and you were married right after. That means you were talking the whole time, planning a wedding, getting ready to be his wife. While you were getting a marriage license in your hometown, I was here saving up for our down payment. Leo, and you still want me to wait? Wait for what? Wait for you to play house with him. Wait for you to become his ex-wife. She looked down at the ground, saying nothing. Go home, Chloe. I'm not going. She looked up. I know I was wrong. Just give me a chance to fix it. How? By dumping him. She was silent. You can't fix it, I said. You have a husband. That's a fact you can't change. Then what am I supposed to do? She suddenly yelled. What am I supposed to do? I don't love him. I love you. I was drunk that night. I thought he was you. If he wasn't so well off, none of this would have ever happened. I just stared at her. So this is my fault? If I had more money, you wouldn't have gotten drunk, and you wouldn't have mistaken him for me? 7, that's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? She was speechless. Just go home. I walked around her, toward the main door. Leo, she called out from behind me. Are you really going to be this cruel? 5 years, and you don't feel anything at all. I stopped. Feel anything? I thought of all those nights, coming home after a long shift of driving, seeing the lamp she'd left on for me. I thought of the weekends she'd go grocery shopping with me, talking about all the meals she'd cook for me after we were married. I thought of the day I proposed, how she'd hug me and promised she'd be good to me for the rest of our lives. I feel it, I said, turning around. I feel sick. Sick that I trusted you completely, and you played me for a fool. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. I feel sick that I was driving every night to save money while you were with someone else. That I was planning our wedding when you were already married. That the 5 years of love I poured into our relationship just created a liar. That's not. Go home. And don't come back. I walked into the building and pressed the button for the elevator. She followed me in and stood beside me. Can you please just leave me alone? No, she said. I'm not leaving. The elevator arrived. I got in. She followed. I pressed my floor number and didn't say another word. As the elevator climbed, the floor numbers lighting up one by one, she stared at them and suddenly said, I don't have feelings for him. I turned my head. What did you say? No feelings, she repeated, her voice dropping. He's well off, so I didn't have a choice. And I only found out a few days ago. He is someone else too. The elevator dinged. The doors opened. I looked at her. So, this won't last, she said, a new urgency in her voice. We can get a divorce. Right away. You just wait for me to get divorced, and we can get married immediately. I stepped out of the elevator. She followed me down the hall. Leo, listen to me. I'm serious. There's nothing between us. I'm a victim here, too. He lied to me. He lied to you? Yes, How'd he find you? How did you two even meet? She froze. That night you got drunk. How did he happen to be there? What event were you at back home? Why did he single you out? Her lips parted. You two were in touch before that, weren't you? It wasn't a one-time accident. You were already together. His family had money, and you felt you had no choice but to marry him. And now that you find out he has someone else, you want to come running back to me." The color drained from her face. You say I'm a victim, you're a victim, and he's a victim. So who's the bad guy here?" She had no answer. "Go home," I said, unlocking my door. "And don't come back." "Leo, I shut the door in her face. It was quiet for a moment, and then I heard her footsteps slowly walking away. I leaned against the door and closed my eyes. My phone chimed. A text from my mom. "Have you eaten?" I replied, "Just ate. Get some sleep." "Okay." I put the phone aside and sat on the couch, staring at the ceiling. After a long time, I got up and went to the window to look down. The space below was empty. The streetlight illuminated a small, vacant patch of concrete. Not a soul in sight. I closed the curtains. For the next 2 weeks, she didn't come back. Occasionally, a call would come from an unknown number. I always hung up. Then the call stopped completely. I went to work, came home, ate, slept. When colleagues asked about her, I just said we broke up. They were surprised, but seeing I didn't want to talk about it, they didn't press. One weekend, I went to visit my parents. My dad made his famous pork rib soup, and my mom cooked a huge spread, treating me like a guest of honor. When I was leaving, she stuffed $100 into my bag, telling me to buy myself something nice. I told her I didn't need it. She told me to take it and stop arguing. I took it. When I got back, I deposited the money into my savings account. The account held the money I'd saved from driving Uber over the past few months, about $2,300 in total. It was supposed to be for the wedding. Now, I had no idea what to do with it. One night, I worked late, leaving the office close to 11. I was waiting for a bus when I saw a couple nearby. The girl was leaning on the boy's shoulder while he scrolled through his phone. I looked away. The bus arrived. I got on and took a seat by the window. The city lights blurred past, hotel signs, ads for wedding photographers, billboards for new condos. I closed my eyes. When I got off at my stop, as I walked past the streetlight in front of my building, I saw a figure huddled by the main entrance. It was her. My steps faltered for a second, but I kept walking. She stood up and blocked my way. "Now, move. I just want to say something. Move." I divorced him. The words came out in a rush. "We finalized it yesterday. I'm free now. We could be together." "Histoire de rire." "You divorced him?" "Yes, yesterday. There are no feelings, nothing to fight over." I walked away with nothing. "We can get married now, Leo. I don't want anything from your family. Whatever they can offer is fine." "Whatever they can offer is fine." "Yes. Nothing is fine, too." She was smiling now. "We can still get married at the end of the year, just like we planned." I looked at her smile. "What does your divorce have to do with me?" Her smile froze on her face. "Now, when you were signing your marriage license with him, did you think of me? On the day you married him, did you think of me? I know I was wrong, but there are no buts. Leo, I really changed. I'll do anything you want, if you can just forgive me." "Anything?" "Yes, anything." I thought for a moment, then pointed toward the street. "Walk out of this complex and never come back to see me again." She looked stunned. "You can't do that one." "Okay, how about this? Go to your company's Slack, into the general channel, and post that you got married and divorced and that you lied to me for 5 years. After you do that, I'll consider forgiving you." Her face changed. "What? You can't do that one either?" "Leo, don't be like this." "Then what did you mean, you do anything?" She fell silent. "Go home," I said, walking around her. "And don't come back." "Leo," she yelled after me. "How can you be so heartless? 5 years of our lives, and it means nothing to you." I stopped. 5 years. I turned back to face her. "Did you think about those 5 years when you were getting married? When you were lying to me? When you asked me to wait for you for a year?" Her mouth hung open. "Now you're divorced, and you come back to me, talking about our 5 years together. Where are those 5 years for the past few months?" She couldn't answer. "Don't come back here again." I walked into the building and pressed the elevator button. She stood outside, not following me in. The elevator doors closed, and the car began to rise, the floor numbers lighting up. I watched them, and I suddenly remembered her in this same elevator, telling me there were no feelings, that he was the victim. Now she was divorced, and I still felt disgusted. Back in my apartment, I took a shower and lay down in bed. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Leo, I'm not giving up." I deleted it, blocked the number. I closed my eyes, but couldn't sleep. My mind was a chaotic mess of images. The day she said yes to my proposal, her huddled figure on the steps downstairs, the man in my car saying, "My wife gets carsick." I rolled over and buried my face in my pillow. The next day at work, I had dark circles under my eyes. A coworker asked what was wrong. I said I hadn't slept well. He handed me a cup of coffee. This should help. After a meeting that afternoon, my boss called me into her office. She asked if I was willing to take the lead on a new project that would require frequent travel. I said yes. And just like that, I started traveling constantly. 3 cities a week, different hotels, different clients. When I was busy, I didn't have time to think about anything else. At night, I'd fall into the hotel bed and pass out immediately. She came by a few more times, always waiting by the entrance to my building. One time I got back from a business trip at 2 in the morning and saw her there. She stood up when she saw me, but I ignored her and walked right past. After a while, she stopped coming. A neighbor told me that she'd come by one night and the security guard on patrol had asked who she was looking for. She said my name. The guard told her not to disturb the residents so late and convinced her to leave. She never came back after that. At the end of the year, the project I was leading wrapped up. It was a success, and my boss gave me a hefty bonus. I took that money, added it to what I'd already saved, and made a down payment on a small condo. It was tiny, maybe 450 square feet, but it was mine. My mom came to help me move. While we were unpacking, she found a small box in a drawer. She opened it. Inside was the watch. "What do you want to do with this?" I glanced at it. "Throw out." She looked at me, then closed the box and put it in her purse. "I'll hold on to it for you. You could always sell it later if you want. Whatever you want." After the move, she started cooking while I finished unpacking. From the very bottom of a suitcase, I pulled out a photograph. It was from our first year together, taken at a park. Her arms were around me, and we were both smiling like idiots. I stared at the photo for a long time, then tore it in half and dropped it in the trash. That night, my mom made a feast to celebrate my new place. We drank sodas and talked, as if nothing bad had ever happened. When she was leaving, she said, "Your father wanted me to ask if you're scared, living all by yourself." "I'm not scared." "Good." She stood in the doorway, looking from me to the apartment. "Call if you need anything." "I will." After she left, I stood by the window, looking out at the city lights. My new place was on the 12th floor. I could see for miles. The lights of the city twinkled like scattered stars. People were going home. People were going out. People were on their way somewhere. My phone buzzed. A text from a coworker asking what time I'd be in tomorrow. I replied and put the phone down. The lights outside flickered like some kind of signal. I closed the curtains and went to take a shower. As the water washed over me, I suddenly remembered that night in the car when a man asked if I was getting married soon. I told him we had broken up, that I'd just forgotten to take off the watch. At the time, I thought the pain would destroy me. It didn't hurt anymore. Sometimes when I thought about it, it felt hazy, like those 5 years had happened to someone else. When I got out of the shower, there was a new message on my phone. It was from an unknown number, a long wall of text. "Leo, I know you don't want to hear from me, but I just have to say this. I was wrong. So wrong. I've spent this past year filled with regret. I can't sleep at night. Every time I think about what I did, I want to hit myself. There's nothing between me and him anymore. He's moved on with someone new. I'm still alone. I'm waiting for you. I don't care how long it takes. I'll wait." 9. I read the message, then deleted it. Blocked the number. I got into bed and turned off the lights. In the darkness, I stared at the ceiling and thought about her words. "I'll wait." I used to say that too. "I'll wait for you to get home from work. I'll wait until this busy period is over. I'll wait until we have enough money to get married." I waited year after year, and I waited right up until she married someone else. Now, she was saying she'd wait for me. I rolled over and pulled the blanket up to my chin. Wind rustled the trees outside, their shadows dancing on the wall. I closed my eyes. The next morning, the sun was bright. I got up, got ready, and left for work. In the elevator, I ran into a neighbor, an older guy who asked if I was settling in okay. I told him I was. He said to come over for dinner sometime, that his wife was a great cook. I said I would. Walking out of the building, the sunlight was blinding. I squinted as I walked toward the gate, passing the streetlight without a second thought. My phone rang. A coworker telling me to hurry up for the morning meeting. I picked up my pace. Life kept going. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I hadn't accepted that Uber ride that night. I'd probably still be naively saving money, still waiting for our wedding at the end of the year, still believing every word she said. But I did accept that ride. And now I'm in my new condo. I'm alone, but I'm at peace. On weekends, I sometimes go to the movies by myself, or out for Korean barbecue, or just walk around the mall. My coworkers tried setting me up with a few people. We'd go out once or twice, but if I didn't feel a connection, I didn't pursue it. My mom calls every so often to ask if I'm seeing anyone. Chloe sent a few more messages from new numbers, but I deleted them all without reading. One time at the mall, I saw someone from behind who looked just like her. My heart skipped a beat. Then I realized, so what if it was her? I kept walking. I guess that's just how life is. The things you think will hurt forever eventually just become stories. When you tell them to other people, your voice is calm, as if you're talking about someone else entirely. That night, I stood on my balcony looking at the stars. You can't see many in the city sky, just a hazy gray canvas. But I stared for a long time anyway. I remembered when we first got together, she told me that one day she'd take me to see a real starry sky. We'd go to the mountains or out to the plains, somewhere with no light pollution. Now I can go by myself. The next time I have vacation days, I'll book a trip, go see the Great Plains. My phone chimed. A text from my mom. You up? Yeah. Get to bed. You have work tomorrow. Okay. I put my phone down and went back to looking at the sky. I don't know how long I stood there. I finally went inside, turned off the lights, and went to sleep. I didn't dream of her. Then life went on, slow and steady. I got used to the new place. Come home from work, cook dinner, watch some TV, read a little, go to sleep. On the weekends, I'd sometimes meet up with friends, or sometimes just stay home. A new colleague started at the office, sitting at the desk across from me. She was a couple of years younger than me, fresh out of college. Quiet, but a hard worker. One night we were both working late, and she asked how I was getting home. I said I'd call an Uber. She told me she could give me a ride, that it was on her way. After that, it became a regular thing. She didn't live far from me, just a small detour. I tried to refuse at first, but she insisted, saying she'd rather have someone to talk to on the drive, so she wouldn't get sleepy. We slowly got to know each other. I learned she was from the South, had moved here for the job, and lived alone with her cat. She told me the cat's name was Machi, because she'd found him on the day of the Machi festival. She showed me a picture. An orange tabby, plump and fluffy, asleep on her couch. He's cute, I said. You should come see him sometime, she said. Machi's super friendly. I said I would, but I never did. One night, after another late shift, she dropped me off and suddenly asked, Leo, do you have a girlfriend? I paused for a second. No, she nodded, didn't ask anything else, and drove off. Lying in bed that night, I thought about it for a long time. Why did she ask that? Eventually, I let it go. Life went on. Work was work. At the company holiday party, I won a thermos in the raffle. She won a $20 gift card. She offered to buy me a boba. I said okay. We sat in a boba shop on the first floor of the mall, making small talk. Suddenly, she said, Leo, I really like you. I almost choked on my drink. She was looking at me, her eyes completely serious. I know you've been hurt, and you're probably not ready for something new, but I wanted you to know that there's someone who likes you, and who's willing to wait. I put my cup down. Do you even know me? Not really, she said, but I'd like to. I looked at this young woman, and I remembered being her age, just out of college, just as direct, just as unafraid of getting hurt. I was in a 5-year relationship. We were about to get married. I know, you know, people at the office talk, she said. I don't care. I was quiet for a minute. Let me think about it. She said okay, and then she drove me home. When we got to my building, she put the car in park, but left the engine running. Leo, however long you need to think, I'll wait. I got out of the car, walked into the building, and pressed the elevator button. The doors closed, and the car started to rise. I watched the numbers change, and I thought of Chloe in this elevator, telling me she had no feelings for her husband. This was different. This time was different. When I got home, I stood by the window and watched her car drive away, its taillights disappearing into the night. My phone buzzed. A text from her, home safe. Good night. I texted back 2 words, good night. That night, I slept well. We started dating after that. It happened naturally. No grand gestures, no one really pursuing the other. We just spent time together, and then we were together. Her name was Maya. She didn't talk a lot, but she was thoughtful. She remembered my favorite boba order, knew my late nights at work, and recalled that I'd once mentioned wanting to see the Great Plains. The first time she held my hand was in a movie theater. In the dark, she just reached over and took it. My heart beat a little faster, but I didn't pull away. My mom met her once. She said Maya seemed like a good, down-to-earth person. Her parents were back in her home state. I hadn't met them yet. She said she'd take me to meet them over the holidays. I said okay. Sometimes, she'd walk me to my door and linger for a moment before leaving. One of those nights, she asked, "Leo, were you in a lot of pain before?" I knew what she was talking about. It was okay. I'll never make you feel that way. I looked at her. The streetlight illuminated her face, her eyes so clear. Okay. After she left, I stood outside for a minute. That same streetlight was still there, casting a warm, yellow glow on the patch of concrete in front of the door. Someone used to wait for me there, but I never looked back. Now, someone else stood in the same spot and told me she would never hurt me. I don't know what the future holds, but for now, I'm willing to try. I turned, walked into the building, and took the elevator up. I pushed open my apartment door. The lights were on. I'd forgotten to turn them off. The warm yellow light filled the living room. The throw pillow on the couch was crooked, and on the coffee table sat the small succulent she'd given me. I took off my shoes and walked to the window. Her car was long gone. The night air was a little chilly. I closed the window, drew the curtains, and went to take a shower. When I got out, there was a text from her. "I'm home." Machi was waiting for me. Here's a picture of him. In the photo, the orange cat was curled up on the couch, eyes half closed, looking completely content. I texted back, "Cute." She replied, "What about me?" I replied, "You're cuter." I smiled, put the phone down, and got into bed. I turned off the light, and the room went dark. Outside, the wind rustled the trees, their shadows swaying. I closed my eyes. The next morning, the sun was bright. I got up, got ready, and left for work. Downstairs, her car was already parked at the curb. When she saw me, she honked lightly and rolled down the window. "We're carpooling today." I got in. She handed me a boba. "It's hot. 30% sugar." I took it and had a sip. The car pulled out, merging into the morning traffic. Sunlight streamed through the windows, warming our faces. I looked out the window. A long time ago, I used to sit in the passenger seat of a different car, thinking I was on a journey that would last forever. But I got out before we reached the destination. This time, I don't know how long the ride will be. But for now, the drink is warm, the sun feels good, and the person driving says she'll never hurt me. So for now, I'll just enjoy the ride. We parked at the office and walked in together. In the elevator, a couple of coworkers saw us and gave us knowing smirks. She didn't care, and neither did I. The elevator dinged. We went our separate ways to our desks. A new day was starting, and life went on. Not too fast, not too slow, but always forward. On the first weekend in November, we went to City Hall. There was no ceremony. We just got up early and stood in line. She wore a simple white shirt, and I wore a light blue one. When we took the photo for the license, the clerk told us to lean in closer and closer still, and she just broke into a goofy grin. When we walked out, the sun was bright. She held up our marriage certificate, angling it toward the light. "Wow, it really does glow." "What?" I asked. "The certificate," she said, handing me the little booklet. "Look, the lettering is gold foil." I couldn't help but laugh. We had lunch at a little diner down the street. She wanted to add a fried egg to her burger. I said go for it. After we ate, she went to pay. I sat at the table, flipping through our marriage certificates. There were only a few pages, but I couldn't stop looking at them. We planned the wedding for the following spring. She said we didn't need to make a big deal out of it, just a nice dinner with friends and family. I agreed. We could use the money we saved for our future. Her parents flew in from her hometown, bringing a suitcase full of local specialties, smoked sausages, cured bacon, dried mushrooms. They filled our entire freezer. My mom and her mom met for the first time and were instantly friends, each complimenting the other's child, and before long they were sitting together, chatting about everything and nothing until late into the night. My parents-in-law insisted on helping with the down payment for a bigger place. I said they didn't have to. They said it was non-negotiable, a matter of principle. The wedding day had perfect weather. I was wearing the cheapest suit I could find, but the makeup artist worked some kind of magic. The man in the mirror looked a little like a stranger, but a handsome one. Maya was waiting for me by the door. She stared for a second when she saw me, then broke into a huge smile. "Honey, you look so handsome today." She giggled and took my hand. Her palm was a little sweaty. The ceremony was simple. No emotional speeches from a cheesy MC, no long-winded toast from our parents. We just exchanged rings, drank a glass of champagne, and then it was time to eat. I'd picked out the rings, simple silver bands that cost less than $300 for the pair. As we were making our rounds, greeting guests at each table, I suddenly saw a familiar face. 11, it was Chloe. She was sitting at a table in the corner, wearing a plain gray coat. A full glass of wine sat untouched in front of her. She hadn't eaten anything. She saw me looking and stood up, holding a red envelope. "Leo," she paused. "Congratulations." I froze. My wife looked at me, then at Chloe. She didn't say anything, but her grip on my hand tightened. "I just came to drop off a gift," Chloe said, holding the envelope out to me. "That's all." I didn't take it. She stood there, her hand suspended in the air. After a few awkward seconds, she placed the envelope on the table, turned, and walked away. I watched her weave through the crowd and disappear out the door of the banquet hall. My new wife gently touched my arm. "Honey." I snapped back to reality, and we continued greeting our guests. Someone at that table asked who she was. I said she was an old neighbor I barely knew. That night, back home, I opened the envelope. Inside was $500, all crisp new bills. I took the cash out and threw the red paper in the trash. Maya was playing with Machi nearby. She didn't ask any questions. After a long silence, she said quietly, "That was her, wasn't it?" I didn't answer. "Is she still single?" "I don't know." "Oh." She went back to petting the cat. Machi was purring loudly on her lap. A moment later, she asked, "Does it bother you?" I looked at her. "No good." She set Machi down, came over, and gave me a hug. It was a light, gentle embrace, as if she were afraid of breaking something. "I'll protect you from now on." I rested my head on her shoulder and didn't say a word. Outside, we could hear fireworks. Someone else must have been celebrating. The following summer, Maya got pregnant. I was so happy I acted like a complete fool, pacing around the living room, chanting, "I'm going to be a dad, I'm going to be a dad." Machi got scared by the commotion, leaped off the couch, and hid on the balcony. Maya just sat on the sofa, watching me with an amused smile. I was a nervous wreck for the entire 9 months. I wouldn't let her lift anything heavy, wouldn't let her get tired, even insisted on getting her glasses of water. She told me she wasn't that fragile. I told her it didn't matter. She was my wife, and it was my job to take care of her. My mom said I'd become a nag. I just laughed sheepishly and said it was my first time. I didn't know what I was doing. The day our son was born, it started in the middle of the night. A sharp pain woke her up. She nudged me, and I shot out of bed, my face pale with panic. "Hospital. Now. Go, go, go." On the way there, I held her hand, my own palm sweating more than hers. I was more nervous than she was. At the hospital, they wouldn't let me in the delivery room. My mom told me later that I stood outside for 4 hours straight without sitting down once. A nurse told me to take a seat, but I said I couldn't. When the baby was born, the first thing I did was run to Maya's side. "Honey, are you okay?" She nodded. Only then did I look at the baby. I stared at him for a long time and said, "He's so small." The nurse laughed and said all newborns look like that. He was a boy, 6 pounds, 4 ounces, with a full head of dark hair just like mine. I held him, my hands trembling. "I don't want to move," I whispered. "I'm afraid I'll drop him." My mom was laughing so hard she was crying. "Look at you, what a mess." After we came home, I learned how to change diapers, mix formula, and rock a baby to sleep. At first, I was a clumsy disaster. I scalded my hand twice mixing formula, got peed on while changing a diaper, and panicked more than anyone when he cried in the middle of the night. But slowly I got the hang of it. I could mix a bottle with my eyes closed and hold the baby with one arm while doing other things. One night, I woke up and saw Maya pacing in the living room, humming a tuneless song, our son asleep on her shoulder. The light was dim, but her silhouette looked so strong, so steady. I lay back down and fell asleep. When our son was 3 months old, we took a family photo. The photographer told us to squeeze in closer. Maya held the baby, and I leaned in next to her. A camera clicked, and the moment was frozen in time. Later, looking at the photos, Maya said, "My husband is so handsome." "What about you?" I asked. She smiled. It doesn't matter if I look a little ugly, as long as my husband and my baby look good. Machi had started joining in on the family drama. Whenever the baby cried, he would run over and sit nearby, watching us as if he were supervising. Maya would joke that Machi was afraid we were mistreating his little brother. We nicknamed our son Machi, so the cat and the baby had a matching set. When our son was 6 months old, I went back to my hometown for a visit. My mom brought up Maya, saying she seems so much more mature now, not as flighty as she used to be. Well, she's a mother now, I said. My mom hesitated, then asked, has that other one come around again? I knew who she meant. No, oh, she nodded. Good. The truth is, I'd heard things about Chloe. Our hometown isn't that big. We still have mutual friends. I heard she and her husband ended up divorcing after all. She was living alone in her family's old house. Her job hadn't changed. Same company, same position. People said they tried to set her up with guys, but she refused them all, saying she was fine on her own. Others whispered that she was still waiting for me and that I should steer clear. I never asked, and Maya never brought it up. One day, I was at the park with my son, and I saw someone in the distance who looked a lot like her. As I got closer, I realized it wasn't. Just a stranger passing by. I paused for a second, then kept pushing the stroller forward. My son was babbling, reaching his tiny hands up toward the leaves on the trees. I looked down at him. The sunlight filtered through the branches, dappling his face. His eyes were so bright. Later, at the grocery store, I ran into an old coworker of Chloe's. We chatted for a few minutes, and then she said, Hey, did you hear? Chloe got really sick last year. She was in the hospital. My hand tightened on the shopping cart. Is she okay now? She's better, but she lost a lot of weight. She's still all by herself. No one to take care of her. It's pretty sad. I didn't respond. The woman looked at me, sighed, and changed the subject. When I got home that day, I put away the groceries and sat on the couch, lost in thought. Maya came home from work and found me staring into space. What's wrong? Nothing, I said, just thinking about what to make for dinner. She didn't press. She just wanted to pick up our son. That night, before we went to sleep, she said suddenly, Honey, if there's something on your mind, you can tell me. I looked at her. I'm Fina. Really? Really? She nodded and pulled me closer into her arms. Okay, just remember, no matter what, your son and I are here. I leaned against her, listening to the steady, comforting rhythm of her heartbeat. When our son was 3, we moved into a new place. A 2-bedroom, a little bigger than the last one, with a small balcony where we could grow flowers. On moving day, I did all the heavy lifting while Maya directed traffic. Our son's job was to cause chaos, pulling everything out of boxes and scattering it around the room. Machi was getting old and didn't move much anymore. He just lay on the balcony, sunbathing, occasionally opening one eye to watch us before closing it again. That evening, after we'd mostly unpacked, we sat on the balcony eating watermelon. Our son was on a little stool, juice dripping all over his face. Maya told him to be more civilized. He just blinked at her and took another huge bite. I leaned back in my chair, watching the sky slowly darken. Honey, Maya said suddenly. Thank you. For what? Thank you for marrying me. I turned to look at her. She was looking at me, her eyes shining. You're being silly. She smiled and reached for my hand. Our son ran over and squeezed between us, demanding to be held. She picked him up and sat him on her lap. The 3 of us were all crammed onto one chair. The evening breeze was cool, but her hand in mine was warm. Later, I heard Chloe had transferred to a different city for work. Then I heard her parents were pressuring her to get married, but she refused, causing a huge fight. There were also rumors she was saving up to buy a house in her hometown. So many different stories. I had no idea which, if any, were true. One New Year's, I took my son to visit my parents. While walking down the main street, I saw someone with a very familiar silhouette. A man and a small child stood next to her. The 3 of them were walking together. They looked like a family. I watched for a few seconds, then looked away. My son tugged on my coat. Daddy, I want a candied apple. Okay, I said. Let's go get you one. As we passed the intersection, I didn't look back. All of that seemed like it had happened a very long time ago. So long ago that when I thought about it now, it was like telling a story about someone else. That night, after our son was asleep, Maya and I were watching TV. She suddenly asked, Honey, do you remember when we first met? I remember. You were always working late, and I drove you home every night. You did. It took me 2 years of driving you home before I got up the nerve to tell you I like you. I smiled. She took my hand and held it in both of hers, gently rubbing my fingers. It was worth it. I looked at her. She kept her head down, focused on my hand, but the corners of her mouth were turned up in a smile. Outside, fireworks exploded, painting the sky in brilliant colors. Our son came running out of his room, shouting about the fireworks. He pressed his little face against the glass. Maya stood up, walked over, and lifted him up so he could see better. I sat on the couch, watching the two of them. One big, one small. Their reflections in the window were blurry but warm. Machi woke up, stretched, and patted over. He hopped onto the couch and curled up on my lap. I stroked his head, and he closed his eyes, purring contentedly. The fireworks continued. One after another, they bloomed in the night sky. I guess that's just how some things are. The fireworks stopped. Our son, now sleepy, was dozing on Maya's shoulder. She carried him back to his room, gently placed him in his bed, and tucked him in. When she came out, she stood in the doorway for a moment, looking at me. "Let's go to bed, honey." I nodded and stood up. We turned off the lights, and the room went dark. Faint moonlight filtered through the window, like a thin veil. We lay down, and she wrapped her arm around me from behind, her breathing slowly evening out. I closed my eyes. Tomorrow was another day.